Hey guys, hopping on today to talk about money, to talk about breaking down some of the numbers when it comes to your freelance income or some of your freelance goals. I know for some of us, the idea of making six figures as a freelancer is like the thing. You want to get to six figures, then that's your big goal. For some people, it might be like six figures. That's just the first step. But I know that number six figures can be a major milestone for people. But I also know that for some people it seems impossible. And if you are one of the people who thinks it's impossible, or how possible is it? Maybe it's possible for some people, but it's not possible for me. I want to just slow down for a second and really look at some numbers. Six figures, as we all know, is $100,000 per year. Great salary. What does that actually work out to be? Well, if you want to work 40 hours a week and you want to work 50 weeks a year, 2 weeks doing no work at all, we'll look at some other numbers in just a second too, but let's just start there, right? 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year, 2 weeks completely off, not doing a single thing. That works out to be $50 an hour, averaging out when you're billing at $50 an hour, which is really pretty reasonable, and bear in mind too that $50 an hour is, that's not just nose to the grindstone working. When you're figuring out a project, you're figuring out, and our students know, you figure out how much time it's going to take you to do the work. If you figure out you factor in meetings, you factor in any revisions you have to do, you have to factor in any research you have to do. It's obviously going to vary a little bit from field to field, but that's all of what you factor into a project price. And so when you think like, 40 hours a week, for those of us who have full-time jobs, it's like, all right, 40 hours a week, big deal. But if you're not used to that, if you're thinking, 40 hours a week, remember that that's not 40 hours a week of literally sitting down and implementing. A lot of that is research or meetings or administrative stuff for yourself, for the project. So when you think in terms of $50 an hour, times $40 times 40 hours a week times 50 weeks a year, that's actually very, very doable. And okay, let's say you want to work a little bit less. Maybe you want to work 35 hours a week. Maybe you want to take half days every single Friday or half days every single Monday or whatever. 35 hours a week times 50 weeks a year, because you still want to have at least 2 weeks where you're not doing any work at all. That works out to be $57 an hour, which again is still very possible. And depending on what industry you're in, it may be that you are more likely to charge on a project basis. But remember that your project basis is always, your project rates are always calculated, or you will calculate what you're going to propose for a project based on your hourly rates, your desired hourly rates. So a $57 hourly rate gets you to six figures, only working 35 hours a week and only working 50 weeks a year. And of course, if you want to work a little bit less, or if you want a little bit fewer hours per week, or if you want a couple more weeks of vacation, or if you're like, you know what, even if I take a week of vacation, I still like to be working on a project just to keep myself in it. That's something to factor in as well. But I really want you to, for some of us, that idea of like six figures, if in your full-time job you've never gotten close to that, it can seem absolutely impossible or absolutely insurmountable. But when you actually break down the numbers, you realize that it's so much more possible to get there than you realize. Like we said, 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year, you only need to be charging $50 an hour. And when you break it down like that for whatever your service is, you may think, oh wow, that's actually a lot less than I would have thought that I would charge hourly. So when you start really digging into the numbers and playing around with what you want your yearly goal to be, or how many hours a week you want to work, and how many weeks a year you want to work, when you start playing around, you start to be able to see just how possible that is. And or if you are doing more project-based work and your projects average out to be more like, 1,500, 2,000 a project, which is certainly the case with many of us, then you don't even have to be thinking in terms of hours. You can be thinking, okay, well, that's really only 50 projects a year. And so that's 4 to 5 projects a month, working with 4 to 5 clients a month. It's getting real close to just like one big project a week, which is very, very doable. So if you have been thinking, oh, 6 figures, that's not for me, I'll never get to that level, it's impossible. I'd say it's always the middle of the night, but the people who comment on Facebook ads and Instagram ads are like, that's impossible, 6 figures, blah, 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 blah. No, guys, this is very possible. The key, of course, as you know, is just to have a system to make sure that you're reaching out and finding and landing clients. And as our students know, it's not a mystery. There's no wishing and hoping. There's no guessing. There's no, what's the word I'm looking for? There's no magic to finding and landing clients. And thank God there isn't. Because if it required magic, how could anybody possibly survive? It just involves committing to a system and then saying, okay, this week I'm sending out this many pitches and these are the clients that I found and this is the way we do our pitches and that kind of thing. But when you're doing that consistently, then you're getting clients consistently, and then you're seeing numbers like this consistently. And then you get to the end of the year and you go, oh, wow. Yeah, I hit 6 figures. I did that. I'm a 6-figure, whatever. I'm a 6-figure Pinterest manager. I'm a six figure, whatever it is that you freelance in, whatever your field is. It's so possible. Just actually look at the numbers. It is so very possible. So if you are kind of inspired by this, if you're thinking, wow, maybe 6 figures could be possible for me, start breaking it down, and it doesn't have to be 6 figures. Maybe you're like, you know what, 60,000 would be amazing for me. Or some people, if you want to do a side hustle, maybe you're like, it would be incredible to just make an extra 1,000 or an extra 2,000 a month, right? Break down those numbers. What do you want your goal to be? What do you want to have made from your freelance business by the end of the year? And then how many weeks of that year do you want to be working on it? And how many hours per week do you want to be working at it? It's all numbers. And once you start playing around with it, you can really see how much fun it can be. When some of us, I think, sometimes think, oh, numbers, I don't want to, but when these numbers represent your potential income, which could mean, vacations, could mean paying for kids' college, could mean even just having a rainy day fund or a safety fund or a fund that when you get to a certain level means you're going to be comfortable leaving your full-time job and finding another one, or leaving your full-time job and be like, best of luck to you, I'm out, and knowing that you'll have a cushion until you find your next one. Or leaving your full-time job and going full-time freelance. It's all possible. And once you start really, instead of thinking, no, I can't do it, it's impossible, really look at those numbers. First of all, look at what you want, look at what you need each month, look at what you want, and then start playing with the numbers and see what's actually possible. I know you are going to be pleasantly surprised, but a higher emotion than pleasantly, maybe even a little bit excited about what the possibilities actually are. So the possibilities for working as a freelancer are better than they ever have been. And again, it's what it all comes back down to is having a proven system that you commit to and that you follow every week. And that's how you get your clients in. And that's how you re-up clients for more work. And that's because you're doing fantastic work. That's how your clients are telling their associates that you have, that they're telling their colleagues about how awesome you are, and you're getting clients through referrals. Get excited, guys. It's possible. I'm excited for you.